the example of there's a fabulous sunset. I text my partner and say, check out the sunset. He's somewhere else, but he's in the same town where he could see the sunset. The next day, and he sees it, texts me back, fabulous. Next day, my sister calls me and says, did you see the sunset yesterday? So we were all in different places, but we witnessed the same thing. So is that in my awareness? Is that in, I mean, someone actually yesterday said, is your awareness the same as my awareness? So I wanted to grasp that.
Okay, so what you're saying, and what the conventional model of experience tells us, is that there is one sunset out there, and there are three people, you, your partner, and your sister, all looking at the same sunset and having partial views of it. And you each text each other your sunsets, you send the image, and the images are sufficiently similar for the three parties to conclude that it's the same sunset you're looking at, and here are just three partial images of the same sunset. Now, although you don't actually experience the same thing, you make the presumption that that thing which hasn't been experienced, you nevertheless presume that that thing is there, and that these are just three partial views of the real thing, which none of you have seen. Yeah? That's what thought says. So, what about this for an alternative model? That instead of there being one world, one sunset, seen by three different awarenesses, or by 7 billion awarenesses, what if there is one awareness with three sunsets, or 7 billion worlds, appearing in it? So that instead of one world being seen by 7 billion awarenesses, there is one awareness in which 7 billion worlds appear. Isn't that equally possible? After all, it's closer to our experience. It's not a proof that it's true, I grant you. But to use your argument, it's not a proof that it's not true.
Right, no, exactly.
Both possibilities are equal. Can we agree on that? That both models are equally possible. What gives my model the edge over yours is that it's closer to our experience. There's no presumption in it. That's not a proof that it's true, I grant you.
Well, that's where
So
your experience may be different because
no,
you see
our experience
things.
must be the same. Our experience is the same. So just take these two possibilities, these two radically different possibilities, and first of all, admit that let's just say they're both equally possible. But we have been living our lives presuming that the first is true. All of our lives, and the first model, that one world, many awarenesses model, is the founding idea of our civilization. Yes, everybody is fed this model from day one, and everything we think, feel, do subsequently is somehow an expression of that model. Yes, all our thoughts contain, at their origin, all our feelings, all our activities, all our relationships contain, in small print, so to speak, this model. Now, where has that got us? Both individually and humanity. On the brink of extinction. Could it be that the model is faulty? Why not just give the other model a possibility? You don't have to believe it. I'm not asking you to believe it. In fact, I strongly recommend you don't believe it. I would feel that I had failed to do my job well if you adopted a new belief to replace what is an old belief. All I'm saying is, having seen that the first model is a belief, and having seen the consequences of it, both in your own personal life and in the life of humanity around you, why not suspend that belief and give the other belief, or the other possibility, the chance to prove itself true or not? Experiment with it. Live as if it were true. After all, you've been living as if the other possibility were true much of your life, even though you can't be sure it's true. So now live as if this possibility were true, and see how that affects, first of all, the world around you. See how it affects the world, first of all, within you, your own thoughts and feelings, but then see how the quality of your relationships and activities changes as a result. Give it a really good go, and then put the results of these two experiments in front of you and choose the one you like best.
I mean, I've already seen over the years how my awareness that everything is impermanent, how that has completely affected and changed my relationships and world around me. So I suppose it's making that next leap of dissolving even that impermanence, I suppose.
Everything is impermanence when you look at it from the outside. When you just see the movie, you can say everything that appears in the movie disappears. All the people, all the objects, all the action, the entire world of the movie disappears. It's all impermanent if we look at the movie. But if we see the screen, we cannot say it's impermanent. So if we look at appearances, yes, from the point of view of appearance, everything is impermanent. But is there not something, sorry to interrupt you, is there not something that has remained present with you all your life?
Yes, and
So
that's the one
that
thing,
can't be
yes.
impermanent. So it's not true. It's true that everything is impermanent if we're strictly, we stick to the words everything,
Right.
every object is impermanent, every appearance. But there is something, which is not a thing, we just, in inverted commas, there is something which runs throughout all experience, which never comes or goes, which is its reality. The stuff that is what is continually being transformed from one form to another, from one appearance to another, but it doesn't disappear. So discover that. Instead of letting that go into the background and the appearances come into the foreground, let them change place. Let that reality be in your foreground, and let the changing appearances go into the background. You don't stop relating to them, but the first thing you see is the real substance, not the changing appearance. Give your heart to the reality, and give your mind to the appearance. In your heart, stay with the never-changing reality of all experience, and let that inform your mind's engagement with the ever-changing appearance.
And yesterday when you spoke about your own experience and the Post-its and such, that was very helpful. I was thinking about how it's almost as if it's kind of, you can go through years or months or weeks or whatever it is of making that priority, that shift, but there must be something that puts you over the edge to really be in it. That is. So I'm just wondering if you could share with us how that shift
Don't
happened
see it like that.
for you.
You see it like that, you give yourself an impossible goal in the future that suddenly the light's going to go on. Suddenly you're going to get over the finishing line, and then it's all going to be okay. And in this way, you project what we are speaking of here into a never attainable future. Occasionally we hear stories of people for whom it happened like that. And needless to say, they make good stories because they're dramatic events. But in my case, and in most cases, it's not like that. Somebody asked, who was it, Shunryo Suzuki, why he never spoke of his enlightenment experience. And his wife, who was sitting in the back of the room in the meeting, stood up and said, because he never had one. What we're talking about here is not an experience. It is a revelation of the nature of all experience. Now, that may dawn on you in one momentous moment, and it'll just pull the rug from under your feet and leave you sitting on a park bench for 2 years. But it's very rare that it happens like that. It does happen like that, but it's very rare. In most cases, it's not like that. At the other extreme to that, it can happen so quietly that the mind, to begin with, the mind cannot even notice it. Or maybe the mind just goes, oh yes, of course. That's what they were talking about. Yes, of course. It could just be like that. And then you just carry on doing whatever you're doing. Don't wait for an event to tip you over the edge. It's highly unlikely to happen.
No, I can relate to that. I mean, I've
Just
had that happen.
take your current experience, whatever it is, and just don't just relate to a temporary, fleeting appearance. Feel the reality behind it. And because you are part of what you are seeing, the reality behind that is the reality behind this. In other words, what is essential in yourself must be what is essential out there, because your body is made out of that stuff. All the ideas in your mind came out of this mind bank out there. It was fed into you as a small girl and continuously fed into you. So whatever your essence is the same as that essence out there. Call it what you want, mind, matter, or awareness. It doesn't matter. The important thing is to feel what I essentially am in my heart is what it essentially is, and relate to it as such. That doesn't mean to say that you lose the ability to relate to fleeting appearances. Not at all. You can still play with fleeting appearances. You can still relate to them, but in your heart you know that what they really are is not a fleeting appearance. It is this substantial reality which is the same as the reality of myself. And you know what the innermost reality of yourself is. Pure being, pure aware being. Now, if that is the reality of yourself, and you are made out of all this stuff, then that must be the reality of all of that. So whichever way you go, you can take the materialist path, you can take the spiritual path. You take both of them far enough, they end up in the same place. In other words, be a true materialist or a true Advaitin. It doesn't matter which you are, as long as you're honestly one or the other. But don't be a half-hearted materialist that an inconsistent materialist. If you really think that matter is the ultimate reality of experience, that's fine. Call it, there must be something, but whatever the ultimate reality is, it's the ultimate reality of you and this.